One discovery took 13 years to be believed. The other one, found in the same hole in the ground, still isn't. This is a volcanic butte in the high desert of Lake County, Oregon. No temple, no lost city, no cover-up. Just a cave that has broken the official model twice, decades apart, and the second time, nobody has ever closed the file. Tonight, the shoes that took 12 years to prove, the preservation method that destroyed the only evidence that could have proved them faster, and the number that's still open 45 years later. For most of the 20th century, one rule governed the peopling of the Americas: Clovis first. Fluted spear points, dated to roughly 13,500 years ago. Nobody crosses before the people who made those points. For decades, that wasn't a theory up for debate. It was the floor every other claim had to clear. Sites that couldn't produce a Clovis point in the right layer didn't get to claim the earliest chapter of American prehistory, no matter what else they had. Archaeologists who suggested otherwise spent careers defending the suggestion instead of building on it. Oregon breaks the rule. At Paisley Caves, a few hours from Fort Rock, the oldest layer has no Clovis points at all, only western stemmed points, a different shape, made with a different method, no fluting anywhere in the assemblage. Lead excavator Dennis Jenkins was blunt about it. No diagnostic Clovis material at the site. None. Not one fragment, not one base, not one flake that fits the pattern. And the dates on that non-Clovis material sit at or before the Clovis window. If they hold, the technology that was supposed to come first doesn't. There's no Clovis layer underneath it, no Clovis site nearby that explains the sequence. The artifact that's supposed to open the story of the Americas simply isn't where the model says it has to be. And the people who built that model spent most of a century treating Clovis as a wall, not a clue. Sites that broke the sequence weren't reread. They were set aside, filed as anomalies, while the framework stayed intact. Oregon is one of the places where the anomalies stopped being rare enough to set aside. In 1938, Luther Cressman pulled nearly 100 sandals out of Fort Rock Cave, woven from sagebrush bark, buried under volcanic ash. The craftsmanship was specific. Close, twined construction, the weft fibers twisted in pairs around 5 rope warps, the weaving running heel to toe, splitting into finer cords at the front to shape the toe. Whoever made these had done it before, many times. Cressman believed they were ancient. His colleagues didn't. To save them from falling apart, his team coated the sandals in a chemical preservative. It worked, and it sealed them against the one test that would matter most. When radiocarbon dating arrived 12 years later, that same chemical made Cressman's original sandals impossible to date. The 1951 proof, sagebrush sandals dated to between 10,500 and 9,100 years old, the oldest directly dated footwear ever found, came from different sandals, not his. The ones that started the claim are still unreadable today. He was right. He just couldn't use his own evidence to prove it. And that's not the strangest thing this cave ever produced. Luther Cressman spent over 3 decades at the University of Oregon building the case for how old this region really was. By the time he retired in 1963, he'd earned a title nobody contested: the father of Oregon archaeology. He'd been right about the sandals. He'd been right about the dry caves holding evidence nobody else thought could survive that long. In 1966, he returned to Fort Rock Cave as an overseer to his own student, Stephen Bedwell. What they found waiting for them wasn't promising. The cave had been looted and vandalized in the years since Cressman's first dig, and parts of the site's integrity were already compromised before Bedwell ever put a trowel in the ground. He dug anyway. Past the layer Cressman had cleared in 1938, into ground his mentor had never reached. Bedwell found a hearth. He had it dated. More than 15,000 years old. Older than anything Cressman himself had ever claimed. Which mattered, because by 1966, Cressman's word carried weight that few archaeologists in the region could match. He'd spent 30 years building a reputation on being right about dates other people doubted. His own student had just produced a number bigger than anything Cressman had been willing to put his name behind. Most of the field rejected it outright. Even researchers who trusted Cressman's instincts balked at this one, partly because of the date itself. partly because some of the material from that second excavation period was processed at a lab that would later be shown to have generated erroneous results elsewhere, which only deepened the doubt around everything Bedwell had pulled from the deeper layers. But nobody disproved the date either. It just sat in the record, unclaimed and unkilled, for decades. In 2015 and 2016, a team led by Tom Connolly went back specifically to settle it. Modern methods, careful stratigraphy, a direct attempt to confirm or kill Bedwell's number once and for all. Their conclusion: the site supports early occupation. It does not confirm anything before roughly 10,500 years ago. 45 years. A team built to answer one question. A cave already compromised before they started. Still no answer. Paisley Caves has its own version of a number that won't sit still, and it's not a separate mystery. It's the same one, showing up again, in a different cave system entirely. 8 wave-cut shelters carved into an ancient lakeshore southeast of Fort Rock. This is the most heavily tested cave deposit in the region. 285 radiocarbon dates, DNA work on 65 separate coprolites, and even with that volume of testing, one fossilized sample still came apart in the lab. Waste from an Ice Age camel-like animal, dated twice, using 2 different parts of the same specimen. The material inside it, roughly 14,150 years old. The water-soluble extract from that same specimen, roughly 13,200 years old. One object, one team, one report. And the report doesn't pretend the numbers agree. If a single sample, inside the most thoroughly dated cave deposit in the region, can disagree with itself by nearly 1,000 years, every other date pulled from these caves carries the same shadow, including the one that started all of this. In 2008, researchers pulled human DNA from coprolites at Paisley Caves and dated it to roughly 14,300 years ago. Older than Clovis, a direct hit on a model that had stood for 100 years. The field didn't accept it. DNA leaches through sediment. A human sequence in an old layer doesn't prove a human left it there. It could have moved down from something centuries younger, carried by water through layer after layer of cave silt. For 12 years, that question stayed open, fought over, retested, published against, in journal after journal. It took until 2020, and a completely different method entirely, fecal lipid biomarkers instead of DNA, chemical signatures far less likely to migrate through sediment, to finally close it. 12 years between a claim and an answer nobody could argue with. The layer underneath that one, the one with the 1,000-year gap between 2 readings of the same object, is still being worked out.